are the defending Big Ten champions from a year ago, a Sweet 16 team, the Indiana Hoosiers, 15-3 in the league. There are some questions. You see, they lost some production. They lose starting point guard Yogi Ferrell as well, but still very high expectations surrounding Indiana. The return of James Blackman will be enormous for this team. The head coach of the Hoosiers, Tom Crean, is with us. And, Coach, first of all, as always, good to see you.
You too.
Let's talk a little bit about the identity of this team. What do you want it to be?
Well, we had to talk about that yesterday, and I think it starts with playing harder longer. And I think it's really, it's easy to say. It's a lot harder to do because you got to work through fatigue. And playing harder longer means you got to keep competing. You got to keep concentrating. You got to keep taking responsibility for each other. You got to execute. And that's what we want to have. I mean, eventually we want to have a team that is really, really a good two-way team, can create from the defense, can get on runs because our pressure defense is good, but at the same time doesn't beat ourselves with turnovers. We want to make the next pass constantly, make the game as easy for each other as we can.
You had such a constant and known commodity in Yogi Ferrell at point guard. So give us a sense of what you expect that position to look like in his absence this year.
Well, I don't, there's not going to be one Yogi Ferrell. I mean, and the key for us as a point guard is the guy that brings the ball up after the made basket. And that's the guy that's got to be a great decision maker. He's got to shoot. He's got to be able to get to the rim. He's got to be able to get the ball ahead on the drive, on the pass. And get his teammates moving. For us, we've got to have a team of guys that do that in the half court. They got to move well without the ball. There'll be a lot different alignments this year. But the whole key still comes down to we make the next pass quickly, effectively, because Yogi was really, really good at that. And I think the bottom line is a team of guys that'll do that will make our team that much better. We lost some key guys, not only Yogi, but Troy Williams.
Right.
Understood that. Max Bielfeldt, Nick Zeisloff did a fantastic job, and now we're taking out the one component that really understood that at such a high level in Colin Hartman. So we've got a lot to learn in that area, but their spirit and energy is great towards it.
Coach, in the press conference, you mentioned something that stood out to me, and that was the fact that you haven't been able to play a lot of 5-on-5 yet. How much does that hurt you in trying to figure that out, in terms of trying to find out who's going to be that guy that you can trust to make the right decisions?
No question, because we're coming off injuries.
Yeah.
And there's different times where we got to push it. You know, in practice, a lot of times with a young team, it's not about the practice plan. It's about how you read the practice, to me. So there's going to be certain times where, like, we've got to push it even more because we got to work through this fatigue right now and cross this threshold, or we've got to back it off because it's too much. And with a young team, you just read it that way. So for us, we've got to get our health right. We don't want to play so fast that we start playing into the hands of the other team. So we've got to build those things, the component of the half-court decision-making, things like that, and then increase it as we go.
And there's different kinds of injuries. There's Colin Hartman, who you lose. But Juwan Morgan's a guy who just hasn't been able to play in contact.
Exactly.
You know, how do you treat a player like Juwan Morgan where you know he's coming back? You have to keep him up to speed, but at the same time, as you progress with everyone else, does he get behind it all? How do you treat those players?
We're very conscious of that. I think when our guys get injured, there is a real plan for them. It's not about coming and shooting the boot.
Yeah.
It's get in a chair and work on your arc, work on your passing. There's a complete plan for every guy. And I think in Juwan's case, and even in this case with Freddie McSwain, who's new, we tailor-make our shooting drills to those guys. It may mean more 4-on-0, 5-on-0, 3-on-0, non-contact type of things to keep Juwan going. And then he's in and out, right? And I think the key for him is when he's out, that he's not out verbally or mentally.
Yes.
Yeah, that he's really into that. And I think that's the most important thing. But there are certain times we got to really get at it, you know, with the contact, and he can't be in that. But I'm not worried about him getting into that. I'm worried about him or I'm not even worried. I'm more concerned about him understanding how valuable he's got to be, making everybody else be where they got to be this year.
Now, every team has a different system, style, and approach. Some teams will be a little more structured where I call this play, you move here, then you go here, and hopefully we get a wide open shot.
Sure.
It doesn't really work that way. Your system's a little different. There are intricacies, there are reads that it takes time. What do you see the learning curve as for a young player? I mean, we saw Thomas Bryant, OG Anunoby, and even Juwan Morgan really make huge strides last year. What's the learning curve like for some of these guys?
Well, it's some of it's the verbal, some of it's the reads, but really it's how quick can you move the ball. There's certain cuts, you know, playing off the defense is so important. We're way behind. I told the guys that we have 4 plays in, like last year this time, we'd probably have 15 to 20 things we'd have set. So it's so much more about getting our concepts down. Spacing, believe it or not, you know this as a player, that's one of the hardest things for guys not to get, but to stay committed to. Because they want to creep in, they want to make this play, that play, and you have to trust the spacing. So for us, trusting the spacing is only as good as our ability to move the ball quickly. So we're trying to get that across now, and that's important for everybody. So it's almost like you make that as remedial as you can at the beginning.
I'd say to the outside, one of the most noticeable improvements last year was on the defensive end. Now, a lot of that starts with a big man who's having to cover ball screens for the first time in his life.
Sure.
How did you see Thomas Bryant improve defensively over the first couple months of the season last year?
Well, his skills got better, but the desire and determination got to a collegiate level. Because early on, you're right. I mean, those people are coming at you, they're flying at you, and you're not used to that. And having these guys, the big guys, especially guards in practice, helps. But you've got to go through it in the games. And we made some adjustments with our ball screen coverages to help Thomas. But this year, our whole goal is to get this team to where everybody can switch 1 through 5. At some point, we're not there yet. We're not even close to that yet.
Does that look more like, is that more like a matchup with positioning? Or, I mean, how do you...
Well, it's to keep you out of rotation as much as possible.
It's just simple. You switching 1 through 5, staying in a man situation, though.
Sure, and we can zone. We haven't put any of that in yet. We can pressure the ball full court. But in this league, if you overhelp, people are knocking down threes. Very skilled league. And so we've got to make sure that, above all else, we're not allowing that penetration to break us down to where we give up that open 3. So switching, early help, early recovery. It's not the help that beats you. It's the bad recovery that beats you. We're looking for that constantly on the offensive end. So we want to make sure that we're doing a really good job of that, focusing on that defensively.
It also helps a guy like Thomas be in position, stay out of foul trouble, which is, for young bigs, that's a tough one.
Yeah, absolutely. But then guys learn their personality of their positioning, right? Like, how far can I extend? How much can I get up into this person? And you get that thing broken down to what their stance has got to look like and how low they have to play. That's part of playing harder longer.
So basically what he's saying is it's a lot harder than just rolling the balls out and playing.
Really?
There's a little more to it.
That's all there was to coaching.
Seriously.
Kansas, North Carolina, Butler, Louisville, all in the non-conference schedule. What are you looking forward to learning about your team in that period before we get to Big Ten play?
Well, we want to win the games. I mean, and obviously it's right. You look at it and you say, well, what did we learn? Well, we've got to make sure that we understand. I think if we had to answer it in one way, what is the mental toughness we're going to have to compete in those type of games? Those are veteran teams, and especially when we open up with Kansas and North Carolina, tremendously veteran teams that are battle-tested. Now, we've got some guys that have been in some battles, but they haven't maybe been in them year after year. And so we've got to go into those games and understand the toughness level, the physicality of those games, and how important it is not to beat yourself. Because Kansas and North Carolina, they don't beat themselves.
We're going to get a very good sense for your team this weekend. You're teaming up with us here at BTN. We're going to be there for tailgate, which I cannot wait. I think it's going to be an incredible atmosphere. And then you're going to invite John into your practice, which is a dubious idea.
John kind of invited himself.
That's usually how it goes.
Right, yeah,
like
exactly.
That's how it it's unprecedented, right?
It's the only way he can get any social plans.
I love having John around. I learn stuff when John's around.
Give us a sense of what we're going to see. You're going to broadcast a practice on BTN. You're going to allow our cameras inside, our microphones. What can we expect?
Well, for an hour, you're going to see an unfiltered practice. If it's not good, you'll see it. I mean, it's live television. Didn't ER do that one time, and they went to live television? So that's going to be our version. And we're not used to that. But I'm excited about it because I think what people will see is the energy, the work ethic. It's not going to be any different, I hope. I mean, if it's not right, we'll do it over. Right. I mean, if it's really good, they'll be congratulated on it. But hopefully people will see a detailed environment where guys are getting better. And it's fast moving. There's flow to it. And we're accomplishing something in the hour that you're with us.
I'm going to want to get out there. I'm telling you.
Yeah, don't do that.
You'd like to shoot it.
Unlike ER, we're hoping there will be no blood.
In a 2-hour practice, we try to shoot 35, 40 minutes of that practice.
Just don't ask me to pass or play defense. I'll get to the right spot.
I understand. You can spot up. There's a place for the spot up shooter.
Bet move.
Again, that should be a ton of fun. Noon Eastern time on Saturday. We really appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to
seeing you at tailgate as well.
It'll be fun, and working with you guys in that capacity makes it all the better. So it'll be good.
Coach.
Tom Crean, head coach of the Hoosiers. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.